Hi, welcome everyone, and welcome back to our Spring 2022 Ionic Viper nanoCHAT YouTube video series. My name is Joanne Stewart. I'm from Hope College in Michigan, and I had the opportunity to kick off this series at the beginning of the semester, and I'm really excited to be back as we're beginning to wrap things up for the semester. I want to welcome back Shirley, Lynn, and Wes Farrell, who are our nanoCHAT newbies this semester. They are both teaching inorganic chemistry for the first time, and they have very generously shared their experience in these weekly nanoCHAT videos with you. So I'm it's really good to see you both again. Welcome.
Thanks, Joanne. I'm excited because I think after our last day of class on Wednesday, this is week 16. I think I officially get to refer to myself as not a newbie anymore, right? Like it's happened, it's done, and
we'll teach you the handshake and all that now as well.
That's funny. I think we have a YouTube video of the handshake on our YouTube site, so I'll link to that.
So yeah, well let's just start then. So now that you've finished classes, you got your final exam to look forward to and all those final projects and all that kind of stuff. So just for fun, in a word, how are you feeling right now about the class?
Wes can go first.
You're on the spot, Wes.
I don't know, I guess I get excited. You know, it's the end, but it's been a bit of a wild ride, and we're working on these literature projects now that we've talked about a little bit already. And you know, it's exciting seeing them kind of taking the entirety of this course, everything we've covered, and then really try to apply it in this project. So yeah, it's exciting and it's a lot of fun.
How about you, Shirley?
Yeah, my word is definitely exhausted.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been teaching quite a bit longer than Wes has, and I just wonder how many more, new preps I have left in me, because it's just a lot. And of course, one of the fun things is to give ourselves some time and reflect back and refine what we did. But for right now, just getting through is just enormous.
Yeah, absolutely, and sometimes it does feel like I'm sort of pulling the students across the finish line with me, and they're trying so hard, and they're tired as well. So last week you had exam 3. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Well, I don't know actually what the topics were, and then how did it go?
It was pretty wide ranging. So it went acids and bases to coordination chemistry, to like geometry, and then reactions with metal complexes. So it was a bit wide ranging. It covered 4 chapters where we normally cover 3. So I think that took a bit of a toll on them. And the fact that we also started with this material right before spring break. And then we've been working on these literature discussion projects for about 2 weeks now. So they took it last Wednesday, but just in terms of like absolute time, some of that material was a bit old, even though we didn't really cover more time in the course, like introducing material. So I think that, and then just kind of coupled with the fact that it's late in the semester, they're tired and burnt out, they're very busy, just generally speaking, it definitely was reflected in their grades, which was a bit disappointing because we kind of got to the end of the semester, and I was just so excited with this, metal chemistry, doing these ligand substitution reactions, but I think they were just kind of hitting a wall a little bit. So that was a bit frustrating, but we still have the final exam to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I think one of the hardest things is, when it is your area of expertise, it's really hard to figure out how much are they going to be able to get in a short amount of time, and where is that line there? And I would say I'm still trying to figure that one out. So how about you, Shirley?
Yeah, I think exam 3 really was a good indication of where we have to be mindful, right? Asking them, it was maybe a little bit long, not everyone got to the last question, or at least put something down that made good sense. And so you're just trying to give them, I think, a path forward, and to say, look, we want to see you do well on the final, right? And if you do well on the final, then this doesn't have to define how you did in the course, right? This last exam. So just really trying to encourage them and keeping them invested. The kind of downside is, there's a process by which they schedule the final exams, and ours just happens to be the last one our students are taking.
Oh no.
And they have 3 chemistry finals total, so they'll be very, very tired by that time.
Yeah, they'll be tired, but also, you can tell them, look, you've got the longest amount of time to study for our final, you know. And the other trick is, yeah, on this exam 3, how do you spin? I don't know if how do you spin it kind of back to them saying, hey, you know, close, we could see good effort in there, you know. So what do you think? Do you feel like the breaks certainly mess things up a little bit, but because we had a long spring break and then we had a long Easter break, and it was really hard getting that last material in. Would you say that your sort of pedagogical approach was the same for this material as previously, or was it a little more lecture, a little more literature, group solving based, or was it kind of the same as what you'd been doing all semester?
I thought it was pretty similar. You know, it was
Yeah.
a fair amount of, you know, delivering the material as lecture. I try to have my course be somewhat more conversational, like try to get them to determine things on their own rather than me just tell them, like, you know, this is going to be an associative mechanism. This is why. I try to get them to reason through it. Shirley put together a really nice literature discussion for them. So in many ways, I felt it was pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was similar, but we were running out of time. And I think I've lagged behind Wes in lecture almost the whole semester long. So I was mindful that I just had to kick it into gear, right? And get through some of that material. So it was a little bit more, I think, just my talking, which I honestly think sometimes they prefer. Like they just need a day where they are on receiving mode a little bit. And as long as they seem engaged, you know, that's fine. That's fine. And hopefully we sprinkled enough other active learning techniques throughout the semester that towards the end they were still okay.
Yeah, I might have said this before, but I will tell my students, they're used to hearing it now, that okay, I'm gonna lecture now, and so you're gonna feel better and learn less, and then we're gonna do an activity and you're gonna feel worse but learn more. So which would you like? Where do you want to start? You know. And they get that. After they hear me say that a few times, they're like, all right, you know. And they really enjoy the group work, so I have no problem with throwing that in there. So
You know, I heard someone from the math department apparently, and I'm stealing this from him with attribution in the future, but he always tells the students, because, you know, we're the Naval Academy, the students like to work out a lot. And he said, when you go to the gym, you don't get stronger watching someone else do reps. And I think I'm going to steal that moving forward when they kind of grovel about me asking them to do something.
I had a colleague in biology who would say, okay, so I've got this violin concert next week and I'm going to pull out the music and I'm going to highlight the really hard parts and I'm going to reread it and then I'm going to be ready for my violin concert.
Yeah.
So now tell me about this project, and when is it due, and are they doing it alone or in groups, or what? Tell me more about it.
Yeah, so we did talk about it just a little bit in our last episode, but these are literature group projects. We've been doing about one literature discussion with them every chapter, and some of them come from Viper and some of them we've written. And so they're used to seeing them. You know, you read the article, they're guiding questions. And so we kind of turned the tables and had them write the literature discussion. So we assigned each team of 2 or 3 an article. And articles fell into one of 3 categories: bioinorganic, materials, or catalysis. Those are like sort of the advanced topics that we just didn't have time to really sink our teeth into. Yeah. And they're reading them and they're working together to write a literature discussion. And then for extra credit, because we realized that, you know, they're so busy, we said, if you want to, you can read another group's article and answer their questions for extra credit. And to our I was surprised, and I think Wes was surprised, but we're pleased. Pretty much everyone wants to do it. And so we're just excited that they then get to read an article in a different area. So if they got a bioinorganic article, then they won't get a bioinorganic article to read for the extra credit. So they get exposed to more through this process. But it's definitely a lot of fun to see them struggle through it. I struggle through some of the papers. I'm not a bioinorganic person. And we had a nice, I think, assortment to choose from. And I'm just, making notes for next time that maybe we would sub in something else for this one, or this one really worked well, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And of course you haven't told them that when you're stumped, you turn to the Viper pit in Discord and say, I don't understand this. Can somebody help? At least that's what I do when I get stuck.
100%.
We're having them submit rounds of drafts too. So I'm now just finishing reviewing their second drafts. And, there's a range of how much effort people have put in, I think, but for the most part, people are taking it quite seriously. And I think some of them really have dug in pretty deeply. And it's really been a fun way too, because someone will mention something like for the advanced materials talking about XPS. And so I got to then put a comment in like, well, what is that? Maybe you should be writing a question about this. So I didn't even think that this was going to happen, but I'm actually now getting them to look into physical methods that they otherwise haven't seen really. And I wasn't expecting that. And there's a fair number of people too who have written some questions. And then I get to the end, I'm like, where's the electron counting? We spent like a week on counting electrons. How can you not ask a question?
Well, it's the infamous, the students feel like, well, I know how to do that. So everybody in the world knows how to do that kind of thing, not realizing they have to kind of step back and think about where they were just a few months ago. So,
yeah,
I just hope that they're proud of themselves for how far they've come. I don't think they necessarily realize it right now, but when they first started with that very first literature discussion we did, it was uncomfortable, right? And now they just dive right into one where, Wes and I aren't even the experts in this, and they're doing a great job. And it's really nice to see that.
Well, it's about time for us to wrap up. I really hope you both get a chance to share those feelings with your students as well, because they really need to hear that. I think that's really important. And I just want to thank everyone for listening and for listening all semester long, and encourage you to maybe go back if you've missed one or two along the way and hit the highlights. We will be having a final wrap up after this is really, really done. And so that Wes and Shirley can share some reflections on what it was like to teach in organic chemistry for the first time. And so I just want to remind you to feel free to comment about this nanoCHAT newbie series on our Discord site, the Viper Pit. And with that, I want to thank everybody and tell you to have a good day.
Thanks to all of our hosts and for all of the people watching.